While one of the core tenets of the MVP is to get your idea out there as quickly as possible in the simplest form possible, that doesn't mean we shouldn't spend some time marketing the awesomeness of what we're building. Newspapers, marketing, publicity, all of that is now just as important as the product or service itself, since you're now building a product with actual, tangible value. We said it before and we'll say it again. Your MVP should be impactful enough to warrant media attention. Thus, as you start building your MVP, it's worth researching the different types of media in your area as a means of getting legitimacy. We touched upon this earlier in Module 2, but at this stage, the most realistic sources to highlight the work you're doing are local news, competitions, and nonprofit organizations. What you'll want to do is to reach out to your local network and try to find people that are willing to share your story. When I say network, I don't just mean your friends and family. I'm also talking about your teachers, your principal, your coworkers, your friends plus one, your acquaintances plus one, pretty much anyone you know on a first name basis. Why? We touch upon this a little bit more in the soft skills module, but one of the most powerful things when marketing and asking for things is that it is infinitely more powerful to connect to someone through a warm lead or referral than it is through a cold one without a referral. There's a number of research articles explaining the underlying psychology behind this, but the most important thing to realize is that when asking media to highlight your story, you'll want to approach them from the position of a friend of a friend, or a friend of a friend of a friend, or at least anyone except a complete stranger with an unsolicited request. There is, however, a method to cold emailing news agencies. And actually, the really great news is that these guys are often more open to cold requests than others. We'll get to that in just a moment. When it came to my pop-up restaurant, for example, I didn't reach out to the television channel that featured me. Rather, I invited my orchestra teacher to my dinner. And it turns out her niece was a local reporter looking for stories about projects like Out of the Bloom. It might not seem like it, but local news organizations are dying to highlight and feature local high schoolers. You have no idea how badly they want to tell your story. Seriously, the fact you're doing the 20% project in the first place already makes you so unique, as there are so few high schoolers who are doing anything beyond studying for classes. What's even more powerful is that you're doing this with a social impact in mind, which is exactly the type of feel-good, motivating content that audiences eat up. Now, I mentioned that local newspapers and television stations are one source, but there are other ways to acquire legitimacy at this stage. For example, you could look at media sources from different organizations. Instead of looking at the big daily newspaper in your town, look at your school newspaper. Then look for competitions in your niche field about social impact organizations. More often than not, your social impact will identify with some socially minded group out there. For example, raising money for fighting hunger? Reach out to your local Chow or Salvation Army chapter. Spreading awareness about heart disease? Reach out to the American Heart Association. This is your chance to be creative. It's not like there's one competition or a source of news that everyone is fighting over. No, it's up to your creativity and mindset in order to explore all possible options. No matter what group you find, use the principle of momentum to your advantage. Once you're featured on local news, tell the regional news station that you're already featured on local news and want to be featured higher. Again, don't do this through cold leads if possible, but rather ask the local news reporter if they know anyone at regional company-wide that you could talk to about increasing the outreach and mission of your project. More likely than not, they'll be happy to do so. Regional and large newspapers republish smaller newspaper articles all of the time.